Hey there, I'm Dr. Cindy Urrutia. If you're new here, welcome. If we haven't met yet, I help spiritually aligned people break survival cycles and reclaim their voice, power, and clarity. Today, we're going to talk about healing attachment wounds through the lens of nervous system safety and spirituality. Because clarity, love, and trust, they don't stick when your nervous system is bracing for some type of loss. And this isn't about blaming the past. It's about understanding how your nervous system learned to protect you and how to create safety to let that go. But before we continue, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of our weekly episodes. And if you're in a season of inner unraveling, I created a free e-guide called Unlocking Inner Wisdom. You'll find the link in the description below. Now, let's talk about the science and spirituality of attachment wounds. First of all, attachment wounds aren't just emotional, even though we've been trained to think that they are. In fact, they're somatic and spiritual, rooted in your earliest experiences of love, presence, and protection. Neuroscience shows that these early experiences, especially during your formative years, wire your autonomic nervous system, shaping how your vagus nerve and limbic brain respond to relational cues. What does this mean? For example, if as a child, love was experienced as inconsistent, critical, or dependent on being quiet, perfect, or emotionally invisible, your system learned that bracing was safer than receiving. This conditioning forms the blueprint for how your body unconsciously engages in relationships today. Chronic states like hypervigilance, shutdown, or people pleasing aren't personality flaws. They're encoded adaptations. Hear me out. Adaptations to survive early disconnection. They're learned responses that once protected you. Spiritually, attachment wounds disrupt your connection to source and the sacred self. When love felt unconditional, many of us internalized the belief that our worth was tied to some type of performance, to giving, to perfection. What in essence happened is a fracture in spiritual trust. And this created a split between who you truly are and who you think you needed to be to stay loved. This leads you to feeling spiritually disconnected. And here's the thing where it gets a little tricky. You might be feeling spiritually connected, thinking, no, that's not me, but perhaps you're energetically disoriented. You, for example, might meditate, pray, or hold space for others, yet still question whether it's safe to be fully seen. You hide. You don't really fully express who you are to the world. And that's that disconnection. It's that fracture that I'm referring to. Deep healing and lasting healing begins when we restore both the nervous system and spiritual coherence. That means anchoring regulation in your body while simultaneously reawakening a direct, unconditional connection to love, source, and your own inner wholeness. That's the dual path. The body relearns safety, and the soul remembers it never had to earn safety and never had to earn love. I know that was heavy, so I'd like to invite you to take a deep breath and ask yourself, is there any place in your system where you brace when love gets too close, or where you engage in some type of people pleasing in order to receive that love? Close your eyes for a second. Do you feel that? Do you sense that anywhere in you? If you do, Drop a word in the comments letting us know where your system is bracing. It might help someone who hasn't yet been able to identify it. Your bravery matters. Having said all of that, we're going to walk through 3 tools you can begin using now to heal attachment wounds by anchoring safety into the body. Tool number 1, co-regulation reset. Before you had words, before you had logic, or even conscious memory, your body as an infant was already learning what was safe, what was dangerous, and how to adapt. The nervous system is your first responder. It doesn't ask if you're overreacting. It remembers. And this is where co-regulation comes in order to interrupt your default shutdown or overactivation pattern and give your system a new signal. Here's how. Sit upright, close your eyes, place one hand over your heart, the other one over the belly. Take a couple of deep breaths and imagine someone who you feel deeply safe to be around. This person could be a loved one, or it could even be your future self. As you are picturing this person, imagine that they are sitting next to you and you feel safe and comfortable. There's nothing for you to say or do other than to sit in this comfortable silence. As you're doing that, take several deep breaths in order to settle and calm the nervous system and send a message out that you are safe. As you're doing this, whisper to yourself, it is safe to soften here. It is safe to soften here. It is safe to soften here. Doing this works because your nervous system responds to imagery and rhythm in a way that does feel real to connection. That is why I asked you to imagine, to picture someone with whom you feel safe, and then to be sitting next to that person with that feeling of safety through that visualization. This is called limbic resonance, and it trains your body to receive presence without bracing. Let's move to tool number 2, a somatic clarity check. What we're going to do is ask, whose energy is this? Because when you have unresolved attachment patterns, your system scans for them before it checks in with themselves. So as an example, we all do this. You walk into a room. The moment you walk into the room, you're not just walking into the room. You're scanning the room. You're scanning for what feels safe, what feels dangerous. You scan the people. You scan the energy, and your default will be to move towards who or what feels safer or more comfortable. When you feel anxious, foggy, or self-doubting, take a moment and pause. That's the most important thing to do. Pause, take a deep breath, go into your awareness, and ask, whose energy is this? Notice what arises. Don't try to fix it. Just name it. Sometimes the most important thing isn't to immediately fix, but rather to acknowledge and name it, because once you understand it's there, then we can rewire and we can repattern. The specific thing works of naming it because this activates your insular cortex, your interoceptive awareness, and interrupts habitual fusion with external emotion. Now, that may sound a bit wordy. So what does it really mean? Through the naming, what's happening is you're bringing awareness to that, and that interrupts the pattern, the habit. What ends up happening is that you stop absorbing others' pain as your own and you begin to trust your own inner signal. And this is where we start healing attachment wounds, because you are no longer absorbing or associating yourself with pain of others. You're naming it, you're becoming aware of it, you're breaking it. That's why it's a powerful practice. It's simple, but effective. If this is sounding interesting to you, I go into more depth in practices like these in the Potential Code, which is a self-paced course designed to help you stop emotionally looping and start living whole. You'll find everything in the description below. Now, let's move to tool number 3, emotional nourishment, which is a repair ritual that we're going to do. We all benefit from nourishing ourselves. Sometimes we depend on others to nourish us. That's the wound speaking. That's searching for external validation. And more importantly, attachment wounds, they get triggered. They trigger our system into either suppression or into spiraling out of control. And when that happens, this is when we really need to emotionally nourish ourselves. It is beautiful. It is wonderful when others nourish us, but we cannot rely or depend on others, not because we're not worthy of it. We're absolutely worthy of it, but because everything's an inside job. And if we give our power away, dependency away in terms of emotional nourishment, then we never heal the wound and we stay attached. That's why there are many practices out there that can soothe our unmet needs without bypassing them. This is something that you can try tonight. Place a hand somewhere on your body. It could be the chest, it could be your legs, it could be your arm. Basically touch to activate soothing. Another thing you could do is hold something warm in your hands. Sip it and let that warmth go into you. And that's creating a physiological feeling of warmth and nourishment. When you're in this space, say to yourself, I don't need to earn presence. I am allowed to be here. And continue sipping. This is powerful because in doing a ritual nourishment practice, could be what I suggested or a variation of it, you are signaling to your inner child, to your nervous system, and to your energetic field that safety, presence, and self-love are not contingent on things outside of you, on other people. And that's where you heal the wound. And that's where you get your power back. If this resonated, I invite you to check out all of my offerings in the description below. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, make it a great day.